You think you can just walk in here and own the place? Heads turned. The words had come not from a rival or a reporter, but from a black waitress in a faded uniform, eyes blazing with something between fear and defiance. Ethan Ward, the billionaire in the crisp charcoal suit, turned sharply toward her. His brow tightened. "What did you just say to me?" Her hand trembled as she held the tray, but her voice didn't. "You need to leave, now." The room froze. The investors, the staff, everyone stared in disbelief, because no one talks to Ethan Ward like that. But 5 seconds later, everyone would understand why she did it. Welcome back, my beautiful family and friends. If you're hooked in and you're ready to enjoy this story, click subscribe and let me know in the comments where you're watching from, because tomorrow I will be giving you another story just as interesting as this one, and you don't want to miss it. Now let us begin. The restaurant glowed gold under its chandeliers. Conversations murmured softly between polished glasses and quiet jazz. Waiters moved in rhythm, graceful, efficient, unseen, and then, like lightning splitting the calm, her voice broke through it. "You think you can just walk in here and own the place?" Heads turned. Forks froze mid-air. The words didn't come from a journalist or a jealous rival. They came from Maya Brooks, a young black waitress in a faded uniform, holding a tray that trembled slightly in her hands. Every head in the room turned toward her target, Ethan Ward, the billionaire tech investor whose name could move markets overnight. His expression stiffened, confusion crossing his sharp features. "What did you just say to me?" His tone was calm but cold, like a man not used to being questioned. Maya's heart hammered against her chest. Her hands shook so violently she almost dropped the tray, but she stood her ground. "You need to leave now." The crowd gasped. The hostess froze. A couple at table 6 whispered, and one of the waiters muttered under his breath, "She's done." Because no one talked to Ethan Ward like that. But Maya didn't care about rules or reputation. She only cared about the seconds ticking away like a countdown she couldn't stop. Ethan tilted his head slightly, eyes narrowing. "Excuse me?" "You heard me," she said again, voice cracking just a little. "Please, just go." Her words weren't rude anymore. They were desperate, pleading. The tension in the room became thick enough to taste. Ethan glanced at his bodyguard near the bar, a massive man in a black suit, and gave a subtle nod. Security began walking toward her, but Maya didn't move. Instead, she took one small step forward. "Sir, please, you have to trust me." Trust her? A stranger in a worn uniform? Ethan frowned, confusion battling irritation. "Who put you up to this? If this is some kind of stunt—" "It's not," she snapped, cutting him off. "It's not a stunt. You're in danger." That word, danger, hung in the air like smoke. The investors at the corner table exchanged nervous glances. The manager stepped forward, whispering urgently, "Maya, what on earth are you doing? You're embarrassing yourself." She ignored him. She couldn't stop now. She could see it. The sleek black car waiting outside. The same car Ethan always rode in. And the man who dropped it off didn't work for the restaurant. She knew because she'd seen his face before. Her brother once worked for men like that, men who didn't make threats twice. Ethan took a breath and tried to keep his composure. "Miss, I don't know who told you what, but I'm begging you," she whispered, voice breaking. "Please, don't go near that car." The whole restaurant was silent now. The only sound was the faint hum of the jazz record spinning in the corner. Security reached her side. The guard's hand rested on her shoulder. "Ma'am, you need to calm down." "I'm calm," she shouted, tears forming. "He's the one in danger." Her outburst startled even Ethan. For the first time he saw it in her eyes. She wasn't trying to embarrass him. She was terrified. Still, he didn't understand why. "Danger from what?" he asked, trying to sound in control. Maya swallowed hard. "You don't have time for me to explain." The manager stormed over, red-faced. "Maya, you're done. Get out before I—" But Ethan raised a hand, stopping him. Something in her trembling voice, her shaking hands, her eyes filled with panic. It didn't feel like a performance. He studied her for a long moment. "You're serious, aren't you?" Maya nodded once, her throat tight. "Yes. And if you go outside right now, you'll die." That sentence felt like it sucked the air out of the room. The manager blinked. The guard froze. "What?" Ethan said softly. She looked around, paranoid, then leaned in closer. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "Someone's waiting by your car. It's not your driver. I saw him switch keys. Please, sir." Don't ask how I know. Just trust me." Ethan stared at her. His logical mind screamed nonsense, but something in her trembling sincerity made his heart beat faster. The room blurred, the music seemed to fade, and then came a sound, distant, outside, a click, like metal hitting pavement. Maya flinched. "Please," she whispered again, gripping the edge of her tray. "Go out the back, right now." Security looked at Ethan for orders. Everyone was waiting on him. He hesitated. He wanted to laugh it off, call her paranoid, but the tone in her voice, the tears in her eyes. He turned to his guard. "Check the car." The guard nodded and walked off. Ethan stood still, pretending not to be shaken, but his pulse betrayed him. He looked at Maya one last time before heading toward the back exit, just to humor her. The restaurant remained frozen, whispers rising behind him. Maya didn't move. Her eyes followed his every step. Ethan Ward stormed out of the restaurant's side door, fury etched across his face. The night air bit cold against his skin, the city humming faintly beyond the parking lot. He pulled out his phone, muttering under his breath. "A waitress? Threatening me? What kind of joke is this?" The soft glow from the restaurant spilled behind him. Laughter, music, and clinking glasses trying to pretend nothing had just happened. But he couldn't shake her voice. That trembling, desperate whisper. "Please, sir, don't go near that car." He scrolled to the restaurant owner's number, thumb hovering over the screen. "I want her fired before—" And then, before he could even press call, boom! The world turned white and orange in a single breath. The ground shook beneath his feet. The blast tore through the parking lot, a wave of fire and metal swallowing the night. The force slammed him backward, glass raining like knives as alarms screamed into the darkness. Ethan hit the pavement hard, ears ringing, smoke filling his lungs. The air reeked of burning fuel. He blinked through the haze and saw it, his car, or what was left of it. The luxury black sedan that had dropped him off minutes ago was now a twisted inferno, flames clawing toward the sky. Shards of metal littered the lot like confetti from hell. For a moment, he couldn't move, couldn't speak. Just seconds ago, he'd been ready to humiliate Maya Brooks in front of everyone. Now, he was staring at the car he should have been inside. The sound of sirens was faint at first, then rising. Someone screamed from inside the restaurant. "Call 911!" He staggered to his feet, blood trickling from a small cut near his temple. His bodyguard rushed toward him from the main entrance, face pale. "Sir, are you okay?" Ethan's lips parted, but no words came out. He just pointed, shaking, to the burning wreck. That was my car." The guard's jaw dropped. Behind them, the restaurant doors burst open as smoke and panic spilled out. Guests stumbled into the street, covering their faces, coughing. Amid the chaos, Ethan's eyes searched the crowd until he saw her. Maya. She was kneeling near the shattered doorway, arms over her head, shaking uncontrollably. Shards of glass glistened in her hair, and her apron was streaked with soot. Ethan ran toward her, ignoring the guard's warnings. "Maya!" She lifted her head slowly, eyes wide and glassy. When she saw him, alive, her breath hitched in disbelief. You didn't go out front?" she stammered. "No," he said, still panting. "Because of you." Tears welled up in her eyes, but she didn't smile. She just looked past him, toward the burning wreck. "Then they missed." Ethan frowned. "What?" She turned to him, voice shaking. "That bomb, it wasn't meant for you." The words hit harder than the explosion. "What do you mean?" he demanded. But she didn't answer right away. Her gaze stayed fixed on the flames, reflecting in her dark eyes like memories she wished she could forget. He crouched down beside her. "How did you know?" She finally looked at him, whispering through the chaos. "Because the man who put it there wasn't waiting for you. He was waiting for me." A police siren wailed closer now, blue and red lights flashing against the smoke. Ethan stared at her, mind racing. "You're saying you were the target?" She nodded faintly, tears slipping down her face. "I didn't mean to bring it here. I thought I could outrun them. I thought—" Her voice cracked. "I thought I could hide." The billionaire who had walked in untouchable now stood shaken, speechless, realizing the truth. She hadn't just saved him. She had sacrificed her safety to protect a man she didn't even know. The sound of sirens grew louder. Firefighters rushed past, shouting orders. Police started securing the area. Ethan turned back to her. "Who are they, Maya? Who's trying to kill you?" But before she could speak, an officer shouted, "Sir, we need to move! This whole lot could blow again!" He hesitated, glancing back at her, Maya trembling. Smoke swirling around her, the flames still roaring. As they pulled him away toward the ambulance, his eyes never left her, because something told him this wasn't over, and whoever was after her was still out there. Her words echoed in his head as the sirens wailed around him. "It wasn't meant for you." The sterile scent of antiseptic filled the hospital hallway. The chaos of the explosion had been replaced by a heavy, trembling silence. Ethan Ward sat in the waiting room, his shirt stained with soot, his watch cracked. His body was unharmed, but his mind wasn't. Across from him, Maya Brooks sat hunched in a hospital blanket, her hands trembling. Her face was streaked with dried tears and ash, and her eyes, once sharp and defiant, were hollow. A detective stepped in, flipping open a notebook. "Miss Brooks, we need to go over your statement one more time." Maya nodded faintly, voice fragile but steady. "I already told you what I know." The detective glanced at Ethan. "Mr. Ward, you don't need to be here for this." Ethan leaned forward. "I'm not leaving her alone." The detective sighed, exchanging a look with his partner, then sat down. "All right, start from the beginning." Maya swallowed hard. "My brother, his name's Daniel Brooks. He used to work for a man named Lyle Turner. He said it was construction, but I knew something wasn't right. Late-night calls, hidden money. Then one day he came home, shaking, said he'd seen things he shouldn't have, that they were planning something bad." Her voice cracked. "I thought he was exaggerating until last night." Ethan's eyes narrowed. "Go on." She hesitated. "He called me out of nowhere. Whispered that someone named Voss had put a hit out on one of your partners. Said it had to happen tonight at the glass room." Ethan's heart skipped. "The glass room? That's where we were." She nodded. "I tried calling the police, but it went straight to voicemail. I didn't know who to believe. All I knew was your car was parked where the bomb was meant to go." The detective leaned forward. "So you took it into your own hands?" Maya looked up at Ethan. "If I told you calmly, you wouldn't have listened. So I made you angry. Angry enough to move." Ethan exhaled slowly, realization dawning. The scene replayed in his mind. The restaurant, her trembling hands, her desperate eyes. She hadn't insulted him out of disrespect. She'd done it to save his life. He leaned back, rubbing his temples. "Your brother, where is he now?" Maya's lips quivered. "I don't know. He hasn't answered since that call. The number's dead." The detective scribbled notes, then muttered to his partner. "Put out a trace on Daniel Brooks. If what she's saying checks out, this wasn't a random act." The room fell quiet. The ticking of the clock felt louder than the sirens outside. Ethan turned toward Maya. "You knew there was a bomb? And you stayed in that building?" She looked down. "I thought maybe if I warned you fast enough, I could still protect everyone else inside. But when the car went up, I knew I'd failed to stop it entirely." Her words trembled with guilt. He shook his head. You didn't fail. You saved me, and maybe saved more lives than you'll ever know. For the first time, she smiled faintly, but it was a smile edged with sorrow. The door creaked open. Another officer stepped in, whispering something to the detective. His face changed instantly, his calm shifting into concern. "What is it?" Ethan asked. The detective cleared his throat. "Mr. Ward, the associate who was supposed to meet you tonight. Ryan Keller." Ethan's expression darkened. "What about him?" "He's missing." The air in the room thickened. Maya's hand flew to her mouth. "Missing?" Ethan repeated. "You mean—" The detective nodded grimly. His car was gone from the lot before the explosion. His phone's off. No trace of him anywhere. Maya's voice broke the silence. "Then maybe the hit went through, just not the way they planned." Ethan stood slowly, pacing toward the window. Beyond the glass, red and blue lights flashed across the parking lot, reflecting against the night. If what Maya said was true, this wasn't over. It was just beginning. Whoever wanted Ryan dead wasn't done yet. He turned back toward her. "If they tried once, they'll try again. You're not safe, Maya. You're staying under protection." She looked up at him, startled. "You don't have to do that." "Yes," he said firmly. "I do." As the detective stepped out to make calls, Ethan moved closer to her. His voice lowered. "You risked your life for me. Now I'm going to return the favor." Maya blinked, tears brimming again. "Why? You don't even know me." He gave her a faint, tired smile. "Because for the first time in a long time, someone didn't care who I was, they just cared enough to act." Her shoulders shook as silent tears fell. Outside, thunder rolled faintly across the city. The storm was only beginning. As the lights flickered in the hallway, a nurse rushed in, panic on her face. "Detective, you need to see this. Someone just broke into the evidence van." Ethan and Maya locked eyes. And in that split second, they both knew whoever did this wasn't finished. The world didn't want truth. It wanted spectacle. And the story of a black waitress humiliating a billionaire in public was all the spectacle it needed. Within hours, clips from the restaurant security footage were all over the internet, edited, cropped, stripped of context. No one saw the explosion that followed. No one saw her fear, or the way her hands shook when she screamed for him to leave. They only saw that one frozen moment, Maya Brooks pointing at Ethan Ward and yelling, "You think your money can save you?" To millions of strangers, that was enough. By sunrise, the internet had already found its villain. Crowds gathered outside the restaurant. Reporters shoved microphones in every direction. Commentators on talk shows debated her behavior, her tone, and, quietly, behind polished smiles, her race. No one asked why she shouted. No one cared who she saved. When Ethan turned on the news that morning, his chest tightened. There she was, Maya, on every screen, her image surrounded by flashing words. Disrespectful, unstable, attention-seeking. He gripped the remote until his knuckles turned white. "They're destroying her," he muttered. His assistant shifted awkwardly beside him. "Sir, maybe it's best to stay out of this. The board—" "The board," Ethan snapped, turning sharply. "She saved my life, David, and we're just going to sit here while they tear her apart?" David hesitated. "Public perception is sensitive right now. If you speak out—" "I don't care what they think," Ethan cut in. "I owe her the truth." But by the time he reached the restaurant, she was already gone. The manager wouldn't meet his eyes. "She caused a scene," he said, shuffling papers nervously. "We had no choice but to let her go." Ethan leaned forward, voice tight. "She didn't cause a scene, she saved me." The man sighed. "That's not what it looks like on camera. The footage went viral. We're getting death threats, angry calls. We had to protect our image." Ethan stared at him in disbelief. "Your image?" The manager looked down, guilt flickering across his face. "We're a fine dining brand, Mr. Ward, not a news headline." For a long moment, Ethan said nothing. Then he turned, walked out, and didn't look back. He didn't realize it then, but that would be the last time he saw Maya for months. Every attempt to reach her failed. Her apartment, empty. Her phone, disconnected. Her locker, at work, cleaned out. Neighbors said she left quietly just before dawn carrying 2 small bags and a box. She said she needed to start over, one woman told him. Said this city eats people alive. Ethan drove home in silence that night. For the first time in years he felt powerless. He had money, influence, lawyers. But none of it mattered. He couldn't save the one person who had saved him. Days turned into weeks. The media moved on to another scandal, another face to chew apart. But Ethan couldn't let it go. He tried to correct the record. Issued statements, spoke in interviews. Maya Brooks is not what you think, he told reporters. She saved me from a targeted attack that night. But no one listened. The truth didn't trend. Within days, the story disappeared under newer, louder headlines. The angry waitress made better TV than the woman who saved a billionaire. Months passed. The guilt didn't. Ethan buried himself in work. Meetings, mergers, endless days of business that felt meaningless. His empire grew, but his peace withered. Sometimes, late at night, he'd hear her voice again. That whisper in the restaurant. Please, just go. You're in danger. He'd wake up, sweating, heart pounding, the memory of fire and glass flashing behind his eyes. One afternoon, while signing off on a charity project, his assistant walked in with a thin folder. Sir, you might want to see this. Ethan barely looked up. Another proposal? Not exactly. The assistant placed it on the desk. Ethan opened it and froze. It was a non-profit registration form. The name printed at the top read, Maya's Hope Foundation. He blinked, thinking he imagined it. But there it was, her name, her signature, her mission. To support victims of workplace injustice and families affected by violence, to remind the world that kindness is not weakness. Ethan's breath caught. Maya's Hope? He whispered. She registered it 2 weeks ago, the assistant said softly. Small donations, community sponsors, a few anonymous contributors. It's growing fast. Ethan sat back slowly, the corner of his mouth lifting in disbelief. After everything she'd lost, her job, her reputation, her peace, she had built something beautiful out of the ashes. She didn't disappear, he murmured. She transformed. Later that week, Ethan drove to the listed address. It wasn't a skyscraper or an office suite. It was a small brick building tucked between a laundromat and a corner store. The sign out front was painted by hand, slightly crooked but full of heart. Maya's Hope Foundation. Through the glass windows he could see her, Maya, sitting on the floor with a group of kids, helping them sort donated supplies. She looked different. Not tired, not broken, but calm, centered, whole. He hesitated at the door for a long moment before stepping inside. The bell above the door chimed softly. She looked up and froze. For a heartbeat, they just stared at each other. Then slowly, she stood. Ethan, she said quietly. He smiled faintly. You didn't make it easy to find you. Her lips curved into a small, knowing smile. Wasn't trying to be found. He glanced around, at the shelves, the volunteers, the bright blue boxes labeled Hope. You built all this, he said, after everything they did to you. Maya shrugged gently. You can't control what people say, only what you do next. He nodded, eyes softening. And this is what you did next. She looked at the children playing in the corner. Someone once told me, she said quietly, that kindness is only real when it costs you something. I guess I just learned what that really means. Ethan's gaze lingered on her for a long moment. There was something humbling about her strength. The quiet kind, the kind that didn't need attention or headlines. He reached into his jacket and handed her an envelope. No cameras, no press, he said. Just help for your foundation. Maya hesitated, then took it. Thank you. He smiled softly. No, Maya, thank you. As the camera fades, Ethan is seen standing outside the building under the fading evening light. Inside, through the window, Maya laughs with the children, her joy soft but bright. The sign above her glows faintly in the sunset. Maya's Hope Foundation. Her kindness had cost her everything, but in losing everything she gave others the strength to start again. Have you ever done the right thing and been punished for it? Would you still do it again, knowing how the world might see you? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you believe that kindness, no matter how misunderstood, still matters, hit like, subscribe, and share this story so Maya's courage can inspire someone else today. A year had passed since the explosion, a year since Maya Brooks vanished from the noise and the world forgot her name. But Ethan Ward hadn't. The once cold billionaire now stood beneath a banner that read, "The Maya Brooks Community Center, for hope, for healing, for change." The press cameras flashed, the mayor gave a speech, and the crowd applauded as Ethan cut the ribbon. To everyone else, it was another grand gesture by a wealthy man. But to him, it was something far deeper. It was penance. When the crowd dispersed, Ethan wandered through the center's freshly painted halls. Children's laughter echoed from a nearby room. Crayons, artboards, and tiny sneakers scattered across the floor. He smiled faintly, then he froze. Across the room, bending to help a little boy tie his shoes, was a woman with familiar brown skin and a soft voice. Her hair was shorter now, her frame thinner. But it was her. Maya. For a long moment Ethan couldn't speak. He just stood there, the air caught in his chest. When she finally looked up, their eyes met, and everything he'd wanted to say over the past year vanished into silence. Maya blinked, then rose slowly to her feet. "Mr. Ward," she said softly, her tone polite, almost distant. He shook his head. "Ethan, please. Just Ethan." A pause hung between them. Children ran past, giggling, breaking the tension just long enough for Maya to glance away. "I didn't expect to see you here," she murmured. "I could say the same," he replied, voice unsteady. "You disappeared." She gave a small smile, the kind that hid more pain than peace. "Sometimes disappearing is the only way to survive." Ethan took a step closer. "I tried to find you, Maya. I wanted to tell the world the truth about what you did, what really happened that night." "I know," she said quietly. "I saw your interviews. You tried, but it wasn't your battle to fight." "It was," he insisted. "They ruined your name because of me." Maya looked at him, calm but firm. "They didn't ruin me, Ethan. They just redirected me." She gestured around, the walls painted in soft blues, the laughter of children echoing through the hallways. "This," she said, "came from the noise they made. I took their hate and turned it into something better." He exhaled, a mixture of awe and guilt washing over him. "You built this place?" "Not alone," she smiled. "Good people helped. Some even donated anonymously. I think you might know one of them." Ethan chuckled softly, lowering his gaze. "Guilty?" For a long moment neither spoke. The sunlight streaming through the windows painted them both in gold. Two souls who had been broken by the same storm, now standing in its quiet aftermath. Ethan finally said, "You saved my life that night, not just from the explosion, but from myself." Maya's brow furrowed slightly. "I was so consumed by power, by image," he continued. "I thought kindness was weakness. You proved me wrong, even when the world punished you for it." Her eyes softened. "I didn't do it to prove anything. I just couldn't let someone die when I could do something about it." He nodded. "And that's why I named this center after you, so people would remember that kind of courage." For the first time in a long while, she smiled, genuinely, quietly. Then maybe it was all worth it. The sound of children singing filled the room. Maya turned to watch them, her face bathed in warm light. Ethan followed her gaze. "You know," he said, "I once thought the world runs on money, but you showed me it runs on moments like this." She looked at him, a glint of gratitude in her eyes. "Maybe we both learned something then," she said. He smiled faintly. "Yeah, that sometimes the loudest act of kindness." He paused, meeting her eyes, the unspoken history between them shimmering in the quiet. "Starts with anger. Do you believe people can truly change when life humbles them? Or do some lessons come too late? Share your thoughts below. And thank you for watching this story to the end. If you enjoyed this story, you will surely love the next one. It's as crazier and more intriguing as you can ever imagine. So do check it out. Click on the image showing on your screen right now to watch the next one.